Hi there, this is Galen Martling, design team member with Unity Stamp Company. Today I'm sharing a beautiful poppy flower card that is heat embossed in gold onto vellum. I'm also going to show a process of adding watercolor for the background of this card. And so for the stamping, I have Unity's Stamp Company kit called Floral and Buds. It's huge. It's bigger than my hand. It's really big and it's beautiful and it has a big high sentiment. I'm going to use both. So I have watercolor paper by Ranger here, and it's pre-die cut, or you can just pre-trim it with a paper trimmer. And so I'm adding water first to the panel, and I just made a palette of two colors. I'm using sort of a salmon color and a turquoise color of watercolor. And I just dab the brush right into that watercolor and then right over the water. And then I just move that around just a little, let it flow where it wants to. And then I go in and clean the brush and add some of the turquoise color and some of the areas just to give it a portion of it a salmon-y color and a portion of it turquoise. So this salmon will eventually look more pinkish as it dries. I move it around just by holding the card and moving it. You can add water to help it flow better. So I just went ahead and added some darker colors first, just to get a little more hue on that each of the colors. So if you want to remove color, just go over it with a damp brush to just kind of remove some areas you think is dark. And now I add some more teal to the sides and just around, just by dabbing it in areas you want. You know, this process is very simple. It's so easy. You can allow this to dry. I patted some of the puddles just to remove the puddles there that sort of blend and pool to the bottom of the card there. And I just use a paper towel to just blot those off. And then you can leave it to set to dry. I went ahead and heat set it front and back. When you turn it over and heat set, it sort of helps flatten that watercolor paper out. And so now I'm using splatters just to accent that background a little bit. I'm using black watercolor with a very fine brush. I know there's a splatter brush out there. I don't have one, so I just use a small paintbrush. And then I heat set that. So I set that aside, and now I'm going to stamp onto vellum cardstock. This is by Papertrey Ink, and it holds up to heat embossing really well. So I'm using Ranger Superfine Gold embossing powder and Wow embossing pad right on to that vellum cardstock. I'm stamping that big flower using those. And now I go ahead and add that gold embossing powder right over where the flower stamping is. And then I heat set that, and it turns to this beautiful gold. I love it. So this is going to go on top of that watercolor panel. And I want to add this high, so I just place temporarily where I want to put the high and the flower, just to make sure there's room. And I decided I wanted that to pop a little bit more, so I used the Wow embossing pad to stamp it, and I just brush away any excess of that embossing powder and the black, and then I heat set that high right onto the watercolor panel there. So I have two layers. One is just the watercolor layer with the high, and the other one is going to be a vellum layer that's going to go over top of that watercolor panel. And then I fussy cut it, which is just cutting it out with scissors. I add some clear double-sided tape to the back of that flower vellum area, that vellum panel. Then I turn it over and trim any excess off that is just goes over the card panel. And then I add that with foam tape right onto the card base to finish. It turns out so pretty. It shimmers, the gold shimmers really nicely, and the pastel look of sort of a salmon and a turquoise in the background really looks pretty. Thanks so much for watching. Please take a moment to subscribe. Have a great day.